Happy New Year, everybody. What a way to end 2023 and begin 2024. Today I'm doing something I usually try and avoid, and that's talk about my own fantasy football team. Obviously, more times than not, I'm here to help you sift through the fantasy football journey from weeks 1 to 17 or even 18, and I will be continuing content into next week for the case of some of you who are playing through that final week. But usually I'm talking about your teams, and we're breaking down your teams. And, that's how it should be. I should be helping you directly by looking at your situation. Even had a segment earlier this year where I had you submit me, your lineups. But it is the season of reflecting, and I want to show you one of the many paths, or I guess two of the many paths to success and what we can learn in the process. So, yes, I will be going over the two leagues that I was able to actually win some money in and win the fantasy football championship in case you're wondering, okay, Corey, you won in 2 leagues. How many leagues were you in? I was in 6, so a 33% success rate for a championship. And if you average out all my leagues, I was probably in, on average, a 10-team league. So really your odds should be 10%. This just re-justifies everything I've kind of said in the past. Fantasy is a pretty random game. You can't really control what happens in between those white lines, but you can do the right research, and of course, you can better your odds by talking about some of the concepts I'll cover today. I do want to shout out the merchandise. We've got a link in the description below if you want to roll into 2024 repping the Fantasy Armchair Athletes or the Armchair Fantasy Football merchandise. We have that. We've got some high-quality hoodies. I go through Teespring. Great return policy and exchange policy. If you are not satisfied within a certain amount of days, I believe it's still 30, you can return and get a new item. But Happy New Year, everybody. I also want to shout out the Discord. Discord is in the description. Went on a little 3-week hiatus, kind of rolling into the playoffs, but what I did not take a break from was answering your questions in the Discord chat. Those of you, Prey included, can vouch for that. I have a general chat. I've got a starter sit chat. We talk about different announcements, any advice. I do little research blurbs for all of you. So definitely, if you are looking for round-the-clock help, even more one-on-one help, add me on Discord. Hit that link in the description. All right, let's jump into this. It is reflecting season. I am not here to brag. It is just sharing a result and looking to help you. Again, some of this is luck, but a lot of it is bettering your odds with research using some concepts that I look to cover today. All right, this one, nothing crazy, $10 buy-in, 10-team, half PPR, super flex, so there were 3 of them, and ended up winning the final matchup by putting up the highest point total I had put up all year. It might have been the highest point total anybody put up all year. We just looked through my lineup here. I've got Josh Allen, Travis Etienne, Kyren Williams. Holy crap. Yeah, there's a reason he's in my thumbnail. I mean, this was a waiver wire pickup a couple of weeks in who turned out very well. Even though he missed 4 weeks, he was the RB4 in half PPR. Justin Jefferson, a lackluster performance to say the very least, but because of the supporting cast, I didn't really need him. Deontay Johnson, Dallas Goedert, had to ride the injury train with him. You could say the same thing about Nico Collins, but he did very well this year, 1,000-yard receiver on a high-flying offense that I decided to invest in early. James Cook, up and down year, 1,000-yard rusher still, pretty efficient, involved through the air, not much touchdown upside, but RB10. Devin Singletary took over that backfield. I picked him up halfway through the year. Kickers are kickers. 13 points certainly helps from Jason Myers. And then I stuck with a weak opposition and just a good defensive matchup towards the end with the Cleveland Browns. We look over at the bench. Had Jared Goff sitting there for the majority of the year. Picked up Taysom Hill latter half of the year. Used him once or twice. Didn't get too much. Kind of just wanted to keep him off the waiver wire. Jaleel McLaughlin, never really utilized him. Gus Edwards I did utilize. I swung him in a trade for Tony Pollard. Brandon Cooks picked up halfway through the year. Amari Cooper's the reason I made it to the championship because of this right here. We've got Tyler Boyd. Kind of a depth pickup. This is Dynasty. I want him, especially if he goes into free agency. Curtis Samuel, Noah Brown, Joshua Palmer, good piece of this offense for a couple of weeks. Khalil Shakir had some nice weeks. Dalton Schultz, high-flying offense, heavily involved tight end, Cade Otton, and Green Bay mainly for their weak matchups down the stretch. All right, so how do we get here? Well, to say that it was, if I were to say this was an easy journey by any means, I would be lying to you. trying to find... maybe I can't do it here. It's going to show the schedule. Well, I started out 1-3. At one point was 5-5, and then ran the table, and then some. Here's the bracket. Just missed out on the second bye week spot. Dropped 162.3. Was able to beat out the commissioner in the 6th seed here. So then I go up against the 2 seed. Was able to do phenomenal against him. The other side of this, I was really hoping the 1 seed would fall. He won by 0.26 in the lowest scoring matchup I've seen in a while. And of course, he comes out hot on me, but yeah, I mean, all-out performance. How did we get here, right? Before I say that, we're going to go here as well. The other bracket was the 2 seed in a 14-team standard PPR. This one was a little more difficult. Again, finished 9-5, 12-5 with the championship. Ran the table for a while as well. I believe I can go and look at my schedule here. We won our last 5, including that. All right. So, let's look at what you guys are saying in the chat here. Championship teams went 2 for 2. Corey, thanks, man. No money, though, and still have 1 week left. Yeah, no worries, MA Football Guy. I am here to help if you have any questions as we roll into your final week. Praise saying placed 3rd in 1 league in the 2nd round, up 40 in the championship in another. Well, you're probably feeling pretty comfortable, Pray. Let me know who you're going up against, if you got to sweat it out, or if you're feeling pretty good going into the final game. This is how we did in the ESPN League. 152 to 125. I went into Sunday Night Football down about 1, having Jordan Love, and the rest was history there. He did phenomenal. Actually didn't start a kicker. Last second. This is rare for me. Dustin Hopkins just didn't play. He was declared as out. I missed it. I was actually working on stuff for this channel. But yeah, there's our defense, or excuse me, there's our bench. Defense did its job. Again, I was an investor in Curtis Samuel and Tyler Boyd. Curtis Samuel specifically because he's one of the main wide receivers on an offense that really had to put up a lot of points if they wanted to be competitive. When the defense is giving up as many points as the Commanders did this entire year, the offense tends to need to get into an arms race. And even though Washington lost a lot of football games, they were giving up 30 points per game, and as a result, they were airing it out. Say what you want about Sam Howell, and then I'll get into my lessons learned in general. Say what you will about Sam Howell. He threw for volume this year. And this offense in general really thrived off of volume. Nearly a 4,000-yard passer. Still has time to be able to do that. He's 207 yards away. The ground game was impressive. It was a spread-out attack. Terry McLaurin was fantasy relevant. Curtis Samuel was certainly fantasy relevant at times. Jahan Dotson had his stretches. Logan Thomas in this thin tight end market that's ever-revolving did fine. Antonio Gibson as a pass catcher did good. This offense had to put up points to stay competitive. Say what you want about what they were doing the last few games in terms of whether or not they were tanking, okay. But early on, they were a competitive football team. They were staying in games. And look across the board, right? 35 points. Okay, got blown out here. 31 points. 20. 24. Ugly game here. 31. 20. 26. 19. 10. 15. And then the wheels kind of fell off there. But we've got a team that works from behind a lot. And as a result, I mean, it's a subtle look, but I do this a lot. I bet on the passing offense. I went out and I knew that I'd have somebody who's, I don't know, semi-reliable at times in Curtis Samuel. He didn't do anything crazy good. But okay. Now we will get into the lessons after I look at the last couple of chats here. MA Football Guy says, one of my third-place teams is ahead. One is behind by 13, the other by 34. TS says, I'm in the championship. One more week, though, up by 25. Let me know the details, everybody. Who's left? What do you have to do? If you've got a whole week left, obviously, that's different. But who's left for Monday night? What's at stake? And how did you do this year as I go through my 2023 fantasy football lessons learned? All right. Got one more week, too, says MA Football Guy. Yeah, so I know some of these go into week 18. Folks, if you are dropping in, make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe. Going over my fantasy football lessons learned, I won the championship in 2 of 6 leagues I was in, a 33% success rate. Looking to do some best ball next year. A couple variables depending on that for sure. Partially the success of this channel, if I can kind of spearhead into that realm. But going over my keys to success, I've got about 7 of them here. Maybe we'll stretch it to a little more. So make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe. Ask any questions you have. But also brag. Let me know how you did in the chat. Let me know how we helped you do this year. All right, lesson number 1. As I just jump through one of my rosters here. Lesson number 1, waivers. You cannot win your league in the draft. You can have certain components that help you in the draft. But there's no possible way to win your fantasy football league, and I will stand by this unless you're in a very weird format or, a 4-team league. There is no possible way to win off of your draft alone. We saw more than any other year this year, injuries will happen. Star players will go down, people will lose their jobs, and others will rise up as a result. All right? Exhibit A. Kyren Williams. You can make the debate that maybe he was a very, very, very late round draft pick. There it is. September 15th, 2023, added. I took him off of waivers. This is why it is so dang important to look for trends and so dang important to really, out of all the fantasy football research, aspects you can look for those who might be rising from the trenches, because those are the ones that are not on other people's teams. Those are the ones you don't have to worry about trading for. Now, Kyren Williams was best case scenario. Puka Nacua was another one. But if you can find trends starting to formulate in the first couple of weeks, now I jumped on him a week or 2 in. But if you can find certain trends that I'm going to go over later, jump on them. Because as those trends strengthen, as more and more weeks get logged, all of a sudden people are going to start to go, okay, wait a minute. I want this person. I jumped on him early. I took a chance. Kyren Williams, after 1 week, not very efficient. After 3 weeks, not very efficient. But he heated up down the stretch. What I liked was the red zone touches. And again, I won't spoil too much. We're going to go over more of that later. I liked the red zone touches. I liked a lot about Kyren Williams. But lesson number 1, folks, do not by any means think that you are going to win your league alone off of drafting. That is such a misconception. Maybe your team is the best weeks 1 through 4. Do not sit on that team. A lot of you have come to me saying, and it's a valid response, right? It's a valid argument. My league mates won't trade. That's completely fine. I didn't trade for Kyren Williams. A lot of people did not trade for Kyren Williams. A lot of people did not trade for Puka Nacua. I bet you if I look in here right now, I wasn't able to get Puka. If I look in here right now, I could almost guarantee you Puka Nacua, he was drafted in the 20th round of a 10-team league, all right? He was not sought after. People were not jumping for him. You probably could have swung a trade for Puka early on. So my point here, lesson number 1, it's pretty simple. Scour that waiver wire. Specifically in the first month, when we don't really know whose backfield it is in some running back situations. Now more than ever, we are having running back by committee situations for every team. So just go over the waiver wire. I'll stop stressing it. We've got MA football guys saying I've got 1 more week, and TS saying I got Puka and Kyren week 2. That is elite. And that's a risk you kind of took, saying, do I really want 2 breakout players on the same team? But it definitely worked out for you. All right, lesson number 2, and this happened really on one team for sure. On the other one, not so much. I kind of sat back. Jump for elite quarterback play. All right? Going after your Jalen Hurtses, going after your Josh Allens, going after your Patrick Mahomes at the turn. I think I took Josh Allen at the turn going into 3 because I had the first overall pick and we were running snake. Jumping after somebody like that, especially with the dual threat aspect, in my opinion, will always be worth it. Obviously, we cashed out to an extreme extent with somebody in Josh Allen having 15 rushing touchdowns. But yeah, let's think about that, right? In the day and age of the tush push, where if you have a quarterback with any type of density to him, you're seeing Justin Fields do it, you're seeing Patrick Mahomes do it, you were seeing, before he got hurt, Justin Herbert do it, Josh Allen do it, Jalen Hurts, the inventor of it, so be it. Go after quarterbacks who are bigger, maybe, and with rushing upside, who you could see in that playbook being utilized for the tush push, who you could see going into a heavy pile and coming out with a yard. Now, I looked at Josh Allen historically, and I said, okay, and again, this is half PPR. This is somebody who's finished in the top 3, I believe in PPR as well, because there's not much difference here. He's finished in the top 2 in the last 4 years. Okay, even in his rookie year, he looked fine, and we knew he had rushing upside. I'm jumping for quarterbacks with rushing upside more and more. And now that we have the tush push, I mean, if you've got confidence in somebody who's being pushed over a pile because maybe they are 240 pounds, 6'5", do that. I have no problem with you jumping for Josh Allen, for Jalen Hurts, specifically for quarterbacks who don't get hurt a whole lot. Knock on wood, Josh Allen has been very healthy. Jalen Hurts, for the most part, has been very healthy. Patrick Mahomes, pretty dang healthy. If you can find quarterbacks with rushing upside and you want to stretch for them a little bit, you want to tap into that elite quarterback play, that's fine. And by jumping for a quarterback, I don't mean spending a first rounder on him. My 101 was Justin Jefferson, right? And that actually didn't work out too well because he got hurt. But you can have the best of both worlds. This is a 10-team league. Went out and got Justin Jefferson. I believe I got ETN at the tail end of the second. And then I got Josh Allen in the third. In hindsight, it's 2020, right? It all looks great now. But jumping for that elite level quarterback play, especially when, half the league got hurt. Now I got lucky Josh Allen wasn't hurt. But being able to rely on somebody to get you in the mid-20s on a case-by-case basis, pretty happy about that, right? Okay? MA Football Guy says, went into Sunday Night Football, predicted to lose by 40 and wound up winning by 8. I have Achane, Devontae, and Brandon Ayuk. My opponent has CMC, CD Lamb, and Kamara. Okay. Kamara didn't do too well. Brotherly shove, Corey. Yeah. Brotherly shove for sure, right? Spearheaded by the Eagles. All right, so tapping into that elite level quarterback play, I'm a big fan of that. Lesson number 3. We're going to go into analytics a little bit here on multiple occasions. This one more situational than anything else. Red zone touches matter. Red zone looks matter. It is no coincidence. And yes, we are at the end of the season, so it kind of looks like hindsight bias. That the people with the most amount of targets, inside the red zone, inside the 20, they're doing pretty well. CD Lamb up there. Devontae Adams, kind of a down year. Okay. Calvin Ridley, really heated up down the stretch, especially with Christian Kirk being on the IR. Yeah. Amon St. Brown, very consistent. DK, up there. Tyreek Hill, up there. Rashee Rice. Kind of surprised some people, but up there. Jamar Chase, you get the point. If you can find somebody getting attention in the red zone, yes, there's going to be some outliers who fall a little lower. A.J. Brown being this low kind of shocks me. Same with Nico Collins and Mike Evans. Puka as well. Generally, if you can find somebody getting looks in the red zone, and we can go over to rushes inside the 20 as well. We can even go rushes inside the 5. These are your players who have had success. 100%, right? Gus Edwards, up and in here. Raheem Mostert, okay. I will say right now I was wrong about him. I was telling a lot of you after weeks 2, 3, and 4, this is a 31-year-old running back with an injury history who's never performed this well. Surely he can't keep it up. I hope to God you did not listen to me, because this was an anomaly of a season. For somebody at the age of 31 at the running back position with so much wear and tear on it, to have a career year is very unlikely, but we saw it happen. But in general, rushing attempts inside the 5, these are your league leaders, right? CMC is right up here. Joe Mixon's right up here. Kyron is right up here. David Montgomery, who broke throughout the first few weeks of the season, right up there. Derrick Henry up there. Tony Pollard did okay this year, up there. Kenneth Walker, you get the point, right? You can go inside the 20 for the most part. And if you're looking for PPR upside, you want people who are getting targets, there we are again. Alexander Mattison a little higher than I would have thought. Isaiah Pacheco right in the thick of things. We know what kind of season he had. Zach Moss tore it up before Jonathan Taylor was healthy again. These are things that we want to look for. Red zone looks in general. And yes, we're 17 weeks in, so now I can say this, and it looks like I'm all smart, right? I'm telling you right now, folks, if you look at that stuff in weeks 8, 9, and 10, before your trade deadline, and you go after somebody who, Tony Pollard is a great example, right? He was not among the top running backs for the majority. I would say middle of the season, he was falling to like top 15, maybe even down to the 20 spot because he wasn't scoring, but he was getting so many looks that eventually we had to go, okay, he's got to regress to the mean. Now, did he? Not really. But he still ended up doing pretty well. He was in a high-powered offense, and he was on a winning team. Targeting people a few weeks into the season, outside of any weird injuries or odd situations that could change the foreseeable future, targeting people who are getting red zone looks is extremely smart to do. Okay. We've got MA football guy saying red zones is why Jayden Reed helped me on my other championship team. Jayden Reed's a phenomenal option, right? And he's also in a really young wide receiving core where I was saying this halfway through the year. Youngest wide receiving core in the league means it is wide open. And you've got somebody like Jordan Love who's wheeling and dealing. We're going to be doing a lot of dynasty fantasy football content on this channel. I can tell you right now, I'm a huge freaking buyer of Jordan Love because his wide receivers, his receiving core in general, is only going to get better. They are only going to get more experienced. Their average age is me. I'm 22. It's a bunch of 22 and 23-year-olds, and he's already had 30 passing touchdowns this season, all right? And I'm a Bears fan. So the fact that I'm saying this right now should show you how objective I'm being. Anyway, TS saying, as Purdy is sit this week, I have Fields. For Fields' matchup against Joe Barry's defense, I wouldn't hate it. I think those two are kind of a coin toss right now, but for the most part, you do have a San Francisco team in general that just clinched the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. So in general, I'm going to say we go with Fields. That's kind of a playoff game for the Bears. They want to beat their rivals. San Francisco's not really playing for a whole lot. Okay, so I don't even think he's going to play TS. I don't see why he would. They've accomplished everything. They have home field advantage throughout the NFC as long as they keep winning. Yeah. MA Football Guy says, I'm thinking of rolling out Joe Flacco for the championship. No joking. No joking, I would do it. Joe Flacco is throwing for volume. Joe Flacco is capitalizing in a quarterback desert right now because everybody's hurt. Joe Flacco could be a top 5 option because his team also is still fighting for some seeding. They're in the thick of the playoff hunt. Yeah, I don't hate the Joe Flacco move at all. All right. TS says, Kelsey has been a disappointment for me lately. Kelsey's up there. He's mid-30s now. I think we're finally starting to see him fall a little bit. He didn't really fall in the draft rankings. I expect him to fall to round 2 or 3 next year for sure. MA Football Guy saying, got screwed sitting Reed and Flacco on one of my third-place teams. I'm probably going to roll them both out this week. Can't wait for your Dynasty vids. Yeah, we're going to be doing rookie profiles. We're going to be doing projections going into next season for Dynasty when we talk about different classes of wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends. We're going to be monitoring free agency. We're going to be monitoring any trades that could be going through, especially ahead of the draft. We have a lot in store. So if you're going to miss football, don't worry. We will bridge what's about to be about a 6-month gap for you seamlessly. We'll be going live. We'll be doing videos. We'll be doing shorts. Just put out a Dynasty short today, actually, on a certain wide receiver. So make sure you check that out when this live stream is done. But yeah, for sure. All right, we're going to keep on rolling. We just went through red zone touches and why it's very smart to go after something like that. Jordan's in here. What's up, Jordan? How you doing, man? All right, so we went through red zone touches. Next one we will do, I call this situational football in general, okay? It does not work for everyone, but it does make sense in general to go after running backs on teams that are winning and wide receivers on teams that are losing. If this is an old concept for you, and I've gone over this before, I apologize. If it's a new concept and you're wondering why I'm bringing this up, let me break it down for you really quick. Teams in general in the NFL, if they're winning, they are going to run the ball in the second half and in the third and fourth quarters. If they're down, they're going to throw it a lot more. When you throw the ball, you can stop the clock on incomplete passes, and in general, you're going to be able to get yards in bunches more efficiently, right? Right. So Saquon Barkley is a horrible example, but Travis Etienne is not. Travis Etienne, the RB5 in PPR, was not too efficient, but was not too efficient at times, I should say. But he got so many touches because he's on a team that's probably going to be in the playoffs. Now, the AFC South is kind of a bloodbath right now. But especially early on when the Jaguars were hot, this is not a coincidence. They were winning these football games, and when they were winning these football games, Travis Etienne was getting 23 touches. We're including these dump-off passes. 23, 30, 21, 17, 27. We see this time and time again with guys like Joe Mixon. All right, we've seen this all over the league. We've seen this with Christian McCaffrey, and he's a different animal because of the pass-catching upside. And I don't have a lot of running backs on here, but in general, we can go to the league. All running backs. Sort them by their power rankings. Okay. There are some exceptions here. Breece Hall was the dump-off king. They did not win a lot of games. But in general, you tell me. Winning football team, these are the rankings for fantasy PPR running backs. Winning football team? Yes. Winning football team? Yes. No. Yes. 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 Fringe, right? Yes. Yes. No. So if we go through the top 10, Derrick Henry is an exception, as he would be. And these guys are teetering. And then Breece Hall. 8 out of 10. That has happened year after year. Jerome Ford, who took over for Nick Chubb a few weeks into the season. Yes. David Montgomery, who's sharing touches with Jahmyr Gibbs. Winning team? Yes. DeAndre Swift? Yes. Isaiah Pacheco? Yes. The list goes on and on. Gus Edwards, who's been sharing a lot of touches? Yes. On the flip side, running backs on losing teams. On teams that are throw heavy in general, I guess you could say. Now let's bring this up. Again, folks, we're going over our lessons learned from the 2023 season. If you have any lingering questions and you still have some football to be played going into Week 18 and you want to ask me anything, now's the time to do that as well. Cleveland's going to be playing for the win against Cincy. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I got Kelsey round 4 since he was hurt. I also have Ingram. Is San Francisco a sit as well? They are my defense now. I wouldn't play anybody in San Francisco. I would assume some of the defensive starters, maybe Nick Bosa, Fred Warner would be resting as well. Maybe even Ward. Yeah, I mean, they've got the number 1 seed. I'm not sure how much they have left to play for, right? Okay, so we go to... I got to use the right terms here to get what I want. There we go. Okay. We go through this now. I was just talking about situational. Teams that are winning a lot are running the ball because they're trying to run the clock down in the second half. Well, here we go again. Holy ads. What is going on? Here we go again. Baltimore, winning team. Yep. Atlanta, Chicago. Nope, but they were fringe. San Francisco. Yep. Philadelphia. Yep. Nope. Nope. So a little more random here, actually. That's interesting. I take the individual guys because it looks like, for the most part, they're doing well. The exception, of course, is the pass-catching running back. You have that here with Breece Hall. Derrick Henry, not so much. He's just kind of a different animal. But the pass-catching running back could be a part of that passing game when a team is working from behind. There is that. All right. So we've got play situationally, favor the passing game if a team is down. Again, we have somebody like Sam Howell who really tore it up because his team was always down. And again, his defense gave up 30 points per game. But that's really if you're just looking for a strict volume passer. But he worked out, right? Didn't even, in all honesty, have that great of a year. Kind of lost his job for a little bit there, but was also bruised up. But fantasy-wise, he was serviceable. He was actually top 5 for a tiny bit, which is a little shocking to me looking back on it. Okay, so next lesson learned. So far, if you are just joining what we've gone over, I won 2 leagues out of 6 that I was in, 33% success rate. This is not to pat myself on the back. This is to go over lessons that I learned, things that went well, things that did not. Lesson 1 was waivers. You cannot win your league in the draft. Lesson 2, jump for the elite QB play. I think Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts are going to be paying off for years to come. Red zone touches are key. Situational game, running backs for good teams, wide receivers for not so great teams. Lesson number 5, we're going to go into availability. If you are a day oneer of this channel, you know what the next 2 lessons are, but we're going to start with availability. You need to look for players who do not get hurt and who do not have supporting cast that would impact their performance get hurt routinely. Okay? So if we are looking here, we know for a fact, even before Dak exploded this year, that he doesn't get hurt very often. He's had 1 or 2 scary injuries, and that's about it. We know Josh Allen has been pretty dang durable. We know Jalen Hurts has been pretty dang durable. Small sample size on Brock Purdy. Lamar was starting to get hurt. I actually had him ranked 11th coming into this year in my preseason quarterback rankings. That didn't work out too well, but we live, laugh, and love, right? Jared Goff, pretty dang durable. Patrick Mahomes, pretty durable. Russell Wilson, pretty durable. Baker Mayfield, shaky at times, but pretty durable. Tua, not durable, but it paid off. Trevor Lawrence, kind of shaky now. Herbert, phenomenal example. I got ripped for this. I had him fringe top 10 coming into the year, not even because he gets hurt, but because the Chargers get hurt so much. All right? I want you to tell me the last time that for a full season we got a healthy quarterback, a healthy running back, and a healthy wide receivers 1, 2, and 3 in the tight end as well. I feel like when Keenan Allen's not out, it's Mike Williams. When Mike Williams isn't out, it's Joshua Palmer. When Joshua Palmer isn't out, it's, I don't know, Gerald Everett, right? These guys just swap. Now Austin Eckler's getting up there in age, and by up in age, I mean just late 20s for a running back with the wear and tear they take on. The supporting cast here is, you could see it. They're injury prone. Well, all of a sudden, maybe the performance isn't going so well for a quarterback if they're missing their wide receiver 1, 2, and 3. And this is something that we can track. Unfortunately, for guys like Mike Williams, we're looking back, missed a couple of games here. It's little speckles. I was not expecting him to only play 3 games. But then we look in recent memory. Keenan Allen missed a big chunk of last season. Was out for a couple games this season. Joshua Palmer, it's only his 3rd year. And he was doing great coming into the year, but I knew the other 2 were getting up there in age. And, yep, Austin Eckler, we don't want to admit it. One of the best tools in fantasy is getting up there in age. He misses 4 games this year, or 3 games, I guess. All right. So there is that. Jordan saying good stuff. Appreciate seeing you in here, man. Good stuff on your live streams. I saw you had a New Year's one up. MA Football Guys saying, how did you find power rankings, man? So I just made a power rankings video. I've done those before where I've just got like the rankings and tiers chart, and I'm using a lot of different analytics, including on Fantasy Pros, which I've referenced a few times in this live stream already, to come up with my own rankings. So I'm just ranking people from, 1 to 30 at their position, or 1 to 32. Okay, so availability is huge. I'm kind of using the Chargers as a case study. But in general, you want individuals who are not getting hurt a whole lot. Justin Jefferson, there's a reason I took him at 1.01 and I did not take Christian McCaffrey. Ironically enough, guess what? It bit me on the butt. Not completely, I still won, but he was out for half the year. But before that, we were able to rely on him. He had not missed a game. The reason a lot of people are shaky on Christian McCaffrey, and he was actually really healthy this year and was the running back 1, there is an injury history there. There was a stretch for 2 years where he played 10 games. All right, and we have this with a lot of different players. DeAndre Hopkins getting up there in age was battling injury. He actually ended up doing pretty well this year, 1,000-yard season. Can't say I predicted that. Last 2 years, there's a suspension in there. Not so much. Nick Chubb is somebody we're really going to have to look at because we just saw his leg snap in half on national television. It's just availability. If somebody is not playing, obviously, we can't really go with them. So, how did you find him on ESPN by player? Oh, the power rankings. Yeah, powerful tool, really. I just go in, like I'm going to grab a free agent. Instead of available, I filter by all. I have all across the board. And then for power rankings, it's PRK. This is just by how many fantasy points they have scored in total on this whole season. If you wanted to go by average, things will change a little bit because obviously Joe Flacco hasn't played the whole year. But on a points per game perspective, he would be QB4, which is pretty crazy. So, yep, I just go in for ESPN like I'm going to pick up a player. Instead of looking for available or on waivers, I'm going to all, and then I'm filtering by total points, right? That's all I'm doing. Next lesson. This will be number 6. We went over availability. They've got to be on the field. The best ability is availability. Could you please post the URL? Yeah, I can do that. Well, it's not going to work from my league, but this is just in your fantasy football app. So if you just go to players, add players, available, you'd go all, and then power rankings. I can walk you through it through the Discord too. But I can't do a link because it will just try and get you into my league, and then it'll ask you for a password. But I can show you otherwise. So lesson number 6 is going to be opportunity. So we've already talked about availability. They need to be on the field. We don't like injury histories. We talk about running backs getting up there in age. Eckler's about to be going into his year 29 season. The next one's opportunity. In general, and again, this kind of goes back to the situational one if we're talking just about running backs. Usage is king. It is no secret that those getting the ball the most and those in the best situations to get the ball the most, whether it be Derrick Henry kind of having the backfield to himself, although Tyjae Spears is definitely a dynasty buy in my opinion. Or it's Christian McCaffrey being a dynamic pass catcher on a winning team, so they chew the clock more. Make the same argument with Travis Etienne and Joe Mixon to a lesser extent. DeAndre Swift. Usage is key. If you are noticing somebody being force-fed 20 to 25 rushes a game, even if it's over a short period of time and there's nobody competing, there's nobody else getting a high snap percentage. As you can see here, we can check this at any time. Jaleel McLaughlin was not benefiting from a high snap percentage, but he was very efficient this year. Touches are king. Pay attention to those. A lot of people, myself included, and it almost bit me, were reluctant to go after somebody like Kyren Williams, right? Because early on, Kyren Williams was not efficient at all. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, Kyren was averaging in the threes for 3 games, and I was going, oh, this guy's just getting touchdowns and getting the ball a lot. Well, after a certain amount of time, that's enough. That's justifiable reasoning to go and get somebody. The efficiency followed it up. Lucky for us, he did not lose his job. We could say the same thing about Travis Etienne getting a lot of volume. So, yeah, I would say getting volume is huge. And the last lesson, really, so we have availability, opportunity, productivity. Efficiency is also king. Outside of a few of these, unfortunately, due to injuries, these were our players, right? With a big enough sample size, Devon Achane could have taken over the league if he played a full 17 games. Nick Chubb was on track to do the same. But as sample size starts to kick in and we're seeing our starters, our everyday guys, our every week guys out of the backfield, yep, there's Christian McCaffrey at 5.4 yards a carry. That productivity is going to lead to more opportunity. When you're efficient on the ground, you're going to get the ball more. Yep, there's Jahmyr Gibbs. There's the mystery of Jalen Warren. He should have gotten the ball way more, in my opinion. There's Kyren Williams. There's James Conner. Khalil Herbert up there. There's Raheem Mostert. You'll see some exceptions, but for the most part, those who are very efficient are ones you're going to want to go after. All right, folks, we do have a YouTube short up right now. We're going to roll into Dynasty Fantasy Football season. If you have any other questions as we roll into the tail end of Week 17, or I guess that game's just about to start, Week 18 and your championships are still going on, or any playoff formats, you just let me know. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, but otherwise, drop those questions in the chat. We're rolling into 2024 with a lot of Dynasty Fantasy Football content, so check the channel for that. And we will see you in the next one. If your championships are done, congrats on a great season. If it didn't go how you wanted it to, keep following this channel and we'll try and help you out going into next year. And if you've still got time left, your season's not done. Best of luck to you. We will see you in the next one.